Emotional Intelligence Conference. Please go ahead, Mark.
Great. So the title of this, and I want to apologize to people who are here. I didn't realize that I didn't realize the time difference. So I was supposed to start the conference, but I didn't. So thank you, Sophia, for allowing me to be at the end. But what I wanted to talk to all of you about, and the title of this is called Bulletproof Your Relationships.
Go ahead.
I need to mute this thing.
Great. So the title
Hold on for a second. Okay, I think it's working now. It's going. Yeah, it's going live on YouTube. I don't want to. I don't like looking at myself, especially from 30 seconds ago. But anyway, so I have a company called Michelangelo Mindset, and Michelangelo Mindset is based on the notion that Michelangelo. There's a quote attributed to him where he said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set it free." So Michelangelo Mindset has been this overarching concept that's explained my entire life to me. So I was a suicide prevention specialist for 25 years, and I'm humbled and fortunate that none of them died by suicide. And what I realized is that if I could see the hope inside suicidal people, and introduce them to the hope they couldn't get to, and they could start to feel it, they would start to cry. And as they started to cry, they started to heal. And so the bullet coming towards all of our relationships, if you're familiar with John Gottman, one of the great researchers in relationships, he talked about the 4 horsemen in conflict, which means when you get into a conflict with someone, and you're met with, or you offer criticism, defensiveness, stonewalling, and the killer of relationships, the bullet coming towards any of us in relationships, is contempt. Contempt is when you've been frustrated, angry, disappointed for a long time, and it is hardened, and you never brought it up. And when someone looks at you with contempt, it feels like it's over. And there's a tweet I put out that people seem to chuckle at because I think it's all too true. Relationships, and we're talking about personal relationships, but this also works with business relationships. They don't die because we stop loving each other, because you can love an ex and help them through cancer. Relationships don't stop when we stop loving each other. They stop when we stop feeling liked by each other. And if you think of contempt, the opposite of contempt is not just love, but liking the other person. And here's a test you can use, because I always try out my crazy ideas on myself. I've been married for 43 years, and here's a test to see if you still like your partner. So the other day, my wife and I were driving in separate cars to do errands, and we passed each other. And there was the kind of the just sort of nonchalant wave. And I immediately said to myself, boy, am I lucky to be married to her. She's brought me a family. We have wonderful children. The children love each other. They've done well. She gets most of the credit. And I was glad to discover that what I thought, boy, am I lucky to be married to her. Now, the opposite of that could have been true too. Boy, I feel stuck. I feel trapped. What am I doing here? So I really lucked out. And we've been married 43 years. And I shared with her, I said, I did an experiment on our marriage, and we actually succeeded. And I told her that when we were driving by each other, that it put a smile on my face. And I said, boy, am I lucky to be married to her. Because maybe you'll understand what I'm about to say. Sometimes when you come home and you've been married for a while, you hear from your spouse, quick, get ready. We have to go to such and such a place. We're late. Did you bring back the Xerox paper? Did you pick up milk on the way home? And a lot of times you can enter your house and there's a checklist because life is filled with details. And sometimes what gets lost is that you really like each other. So using the Michelangelo mindset, I was thinking when I look into couples and I see contempt, I'm not all that hopeful. But I thought if I could see a couple liking each other, enjoying each other, putting a smile on each other's face, and not about running errands or doing things just because you like each other. And so with a Michelangelo mindset, I imagine that still is there in couples underneath it all. And then I realized, what is it that would maintain liking each other? And I came up with this. So if you're in a relationship and you haven't gotten engaged yet, but you're dating and it looks like it's going in that direction, here's a suggestion that I would suggest to all couples. Once a week during, call it date night or Friday or Saturday, when your relationship is still relatively new, part of the conversation with each other, and you'll agree to this, is you say to each other, what drives me crazy positive about you is such and such. What drives me crazy negative about you is such and such. So you start with the positive. What drives me crazy positive about you is the way you look at me, the way you conduct yourself, the way you treat other people. What drives me crazy negative is sometimes the way you treat sometimes the way you treat people by being disrespectful, by interrupting, by having it be all about you. And I'm bringing this up because, see, what causes contempt is when we feel these negative feelings and we push them down because we're afraid of conflict. Why are we afraid of conflict? Because we watched our parents have conflicts and it just escalated and it never seemed to end well. So anytime we're approaching a conflict, we avoid it. But if you're fresh in a relationship, I would really suggest you implement that. And again, what drives me crazy positive about you and what drives me crazy negative about you is such and such. Also, it's going to tell you how thin-skinned the other person is or how thin-skinned you are, because that's something you're going to want to find out early on. But if you're further along in a relationship, let's say you're married, let's say you want to bring back the love and liking each other, you do the same date night, but what you each start to share is what I call, let's see, I come up with these acronyms. So this is UDF. And what that stands for is, this is what I felt in the last week. This is what I felt upset about with you. This is what I felt disappointed about. And the F is fear. And one of the reasons I didn't bring it up, and one of the reasons I haven't brought this up earlier in our relationship, is what I'm really afraid of is that if I brought it up, you would look at me coldly and say, too bad, deal with it. And so I've been afraid to bring up my upsets and disappointments because I think if you looked at me coldly and with maybe contempt, how could I then continue in the relationship? But I'm bringing it up now because I don't want it to reach the end point. And then what you want to finish it with is, on the other hand, this is what I really appreciate about you and I'm grateful to, that I don't tell you enough. So is that making, Sophia, is that making sense to you? And do you think people are tracking with this?
Well, certainly. I mean, I just wanted to go to Marvin actually, because I mean he's a married man and also has children. I'm sure he can relate to it. I particularly like the way that you use the word contempt, because I feel sometimes we don't realize that is actually what we're experiencing. That's potentially what we might experience. But being intentional and being more emotionally intelligent about how you then practically address that to prevent it, I think is really essential. Marvin, would you like to respond to what Mark has shared so far. That's what I've shared so far.
Sure, I'm really happy to chime in. What a place to chime in. into accordingly. But I think I respond to Mark. His show was massively impactful and something that I can share the stage with Mark before. And I didn't even know that about him or his journey. And, you know, sort of, I haven't lost a child and terrible to sort of go through that experience. The element of what you spoke about is something I can definitely his brain had quite a severe complication that put his life in danger around his sort of building because he had to have a blood transfusion and all sorts of things. Left to a totally separate hospital to where my wife was and 10 days he was in intensive care. Situation whereby I was totally out of control. I had no control over the situation. The only thing that helped me in that moment was actually driving Brisbane from one hospital to another hospital about 34 minutes away to feed my son through a treatment. I can occupy my time by doing that. That's something I can do. And also in my mind, I thought, well, investment is going to be the best thing for him in this moment. And, you know, fast forward to the time, the day when we finally managed to drive him home. Literally, I don't know. I think he's been driving at sort of like 18 miles an hour. Transporting sort of an open casket of water, and I couldn't spill one drop, but just to get home. I actually got to the point where he was okay, and it ended up and down for quite a long time because I think his immune system took a bit of a beating also. But when it came back to me, you know, I then decided to leave the organisation and that. Took some time out because I wanted to spend more time at home, and my wife for starting a business then became